Independent and Teal MPs have joined the Prime Minister for a brief meeting at the Lodge. Joining me live now is Political Editor Andrew Clennell. Look, this meeting at the Lodge that occurred with Teals and other independents, of course, the Prime Minister wanting to get in their good books, probably considering the way the polls are looking at the moment.
Absolutely, and isn't this fascinating? A good get by the Australian last night. They got the tip and headed out there, Kenny, and I think we have some pictures of that. Channel 9 followed them afterwards. Essentially, the feeling in the Parliament, Kenny, is that the government's probably likely to lose, certainly majority. I mean, that's only 3 seats. Probably likely to lose about 10 seats or a little bit more. They could still form government then, but they need confidence and supply from an awful lot of independents and or the Greens. It's just difficult to see Peter Dutton winning 20 seats. So Anthony Albanese's out there, so's Peter Dutton every day, saying they both think they could win majority government. Well, anything could happen, I guess. But let's look at what's likely, given what the polls are saying. And what's likely is that kind of 10-seat loss, or maybe 8 seats, or maybe 12 seats by the government. So Anthony Albanese perhaps signalling here too that we're not getting a budget. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but this is the sort of thing you'll see in the last sitting week before an election. And there's lots of commitments with fundraisers on a budget week, sure, so maybe that's playing a role in it too. But if the budget goes ahead and we do indeed go to an election in May, but the reports are that this was organised at the last minute. And it's quite clear what's going on here. He's trying to get ahead of Peter Dutton in any race for the backing of these MPs with confidence and supply. There is a view in the Parliament that Peter Dutton might win the popular vote by a narrow margin, say 51-49, but that after the election, because of the way the crossbench is, that Anthony Albanese could form government.
Yeah, just on the Rex Airlines, I was talking to Deputy Opposition Leader Susan Lee earlier in the program. The coalition, she says, is against the government buying Rex Airlines. Now, the plan is at this stage, which what we heard earlier was, we're going to get this incentives package to try and get a sale over the line. But if that doesn't happen, the government's going to consider buying the airline. Quite extraordinary considering that we are getting quite close to the election and this is a real push to those regional seats.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to do it before caretaker, wouldn't you? It's a dangerous precedent in some ways, but having said that, it's very important that these particular air routes are serviced for Australians. So I think the opposition argument is, well, get other carriers to pick up the slack, maybe even subsidise them, but don't take over a whole airline. That was kind of talked about during COVID when Virgin went under, but Scott Morrison decided not to do that. But I think what's telling too is, again, you potentially got a few key seats in play here. Have a look at Orange. And Andrew G is the MP there in Calare. He was there last night, former National Independent. Again, someone that Anthony Albanese might need confidence and supply from. So at this stage in the election cycle, you always need to look at the politics as well. There are a couple of rural Victorian seats that the government has as well. I think potentially a lot of politics in this decision and these statements from the Prime Minister, of course there is.
Yeah, just on tariffs as well, considering the comments that we are now hearing from Trump's trade advisors around Australian aluminium flooding into the US market and killing the market locally in the US. Don Farrell and Anthony Albanese really have more work to do on this, don't they?
Yes, well, Don Farrell might have to take over one of his famous bottles of wine when he eventually gets over there to meet Howard Lutnick, I think, Kenny. But they do. There's no doubt yesterday was a mini kind of victory. It didn't end in disaster, that phone call, but there is a lot more to do. And it emerged in terms of those executive orders that the claim is that Scott Morrison, who, as well as Malcolm Turnbull, negotiated on this, made a promise that there would be a certain cap on steel coming into America, and that cap was oversubscribed, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be putting my house on us getting the exemption. But then again, President Trump has said publicly he'll give it great consideration. It's really a question of, do we need to offer anything else in return? And I think there's a view too that this is just the start, Kenny, because they're talking about pharmaceuticals and potential tariffs there and cars and all manner of other things. And maybe steel's just the first battle.
Yeah, it's not the end of it, I don't think. Andrew Clennell, appreciate it. Good to see you. Thank you.